Hello there everyone, Mage Lord Exelbirth here, and I am on my testy world for my server, which is a modified version of the Hermitcraft mod sauce pack, and I am going to be doing a mod spotlight on one of the mods I'm kind of messing around with and toying with adding. It is called Schematica, and it is a great mod. I love it. So, have you ever had to do a big building project and you wanted to make a lot of the same type of building, or you're in your survival world and you want to build up a big structure that you built in a creative world or in MC Edit? Well, Schematica is exactly the mod that helps you out with that. Let's switch over to creative mode, or first person mode, derp. So, what is Schematica? It's a mod which allows you to use schematics in your Minecraft world for building. And the way it works is that there's 3 different keys bound for Schematica controls. The first one allows you to select a point in your world that you can highlight and save as a schematic. The second key allows you to move a schematic that you have pasted into your world. And the other key allows you to load a schematic file. So I've already got one made. It's a shack. I load that, hit done, and there we go. We have the shack I built earlier over there. Now, this is sticking out of the ground a bit, so you use the schematic movement thing. Move it down one, and there we go. You also can rotate the structure. And there's a flip option, but it doesn't show up for me right now. It might be that my schematic doesn't flip very well or something. I'm not quite certain. There's a move here, which moves the schematic to your position. Let's move that back a bit. And move one forward. And there's a hide and show. This will make your schematic is invisible, allowing you to see what the progress is on your current build. There's also a material which shows you all the different materials you need, so it's like a checklist of what you need in order to build the structure. And you can turn it off, which will get rid of the schematic completely when you leave the menu. So we're going to turn printer on. Printer is what allows you to build with the schematic, and building with it is pretty creative. You don't have to do anything other than walk up to your structure and have the materials in your inventory. And as you can see, it is building for me. I have my hands in the air, not touching the keyboard. There is a limited range on where you can build, though. Like, see, it only went a couple blocks out from me, so it's got some things you have to do. You have to move around. You can't just sit there and let the entire thing build at once. Also, the schematic will not build when there are mobs in the way, so we need to get this guy moved out, and then we can get it building. Alright, so as you saw, most of the schematic was blue. However, there we go. Doors sometimes get a little buggy. So inside, we see that there's a whole bunch of grass blocks. Now, the reason that there are grass blocks is because there's a different block that's supposed to be here. So when I get rid of it, I get cobblestone floor in place. Now, if you don't have the material in your... I think it's restricted to when it's in your hotbar. Yep, when it's not in your hotbar, it does not build. So we can clear this all out, and when I move it back to my hotbar, it starts putting the blocks in place. And there we go, we pretty much have a house built. There's one block that's not the right kind because I had a cobblestone there, not grass, but we're good enough. I can fix that myself later on. So, when you're done, just go, hit off, no wait. Now you can hit hide, and that'll show you the schematic is pretty much done. There's a few blocks that I would have to replace myself. I think that hiding is the only way you can really get rid of the schematic from your world. Yeah, the printer option actually is for when you are... If you want to just walk through it and not place anything, you turn the printer option off. That's what it was. So, built an entire shack very easily, didn't even have to jump much. In fact, I wouldn't have had to jump at all if I didn't fly up in the first place. I could have just walked inside and let it keep building by looking at the ceiling. So, how about with other mods? Does this mod allow you to place other mod blocks? Or is it restricted to vanilla? Well, it thankfully allows you to do other mod blocks. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to try copying this entire factory, which has got a couple different mods worth of items in here. There's Project Red illumination lamps, there's Tinker's Construct bricks, Chisel stone bricks, vanilla black stained glass, some spruce wood, Mine Factory reloaded stuff, and some thermal expansion items. And this factory does actually work. So, how do we go about copying it then? Well, that's where these points come in. Let's place both of these points and turn it on so we can see it. Now this will create a purple box close to where you were standing, and you maneuver the box like this. There's actually two different colors, red and blue, which is why it turned purple. So we're going to move this way far out, and I will check on that in a moment. We're also going to move it this way some. There we go. You can see that it's off a bit. Let's drop it down one so we can get the floor, and bring it back a couple. There we go. That should be right where it needs to be. The red point can move up one because we don't need to be out any further than this. And we will send it over there. Now just move over here so I can make sure that we are in the proper position. Bring the menu back up. Alright, so that's in the correct spot. And we just need to go higher. Oh yeah, I forgot, there's also railcraft blocks here as well. So lots of different mods that we're testing it with. Oops. 3 button. 1, 2, 3. There, that should have the different blocks in place. Yep, there we go. So everything is selected. So now we just go here, type the name of the schematic. I'm gonna call it Meat Factory. And saves the chunks, and we have successfully saved the Meat Factory schematic. Alright, so now let's get it put in place in the world. But before I do that, let's go here, because I'm going to need an excavator from Tinker's Construct so I can clear out the floor area. Excavator is there. Go with the blood one because it's good enough for me. Okay, let's get the schematic in place. Alright, so that's intersecting already. But you can see already that it does show the different blocks. We just need to move the schematic over. And down one block. Alright, so let's go take care of the factory floor. It is interesting looking at blocks that you know are going to be there, but are not actually there at the moment. It's like you're interacting with ghosts. done. There we go. Alright, so everything in the factory is cleared out. Now, we just need to go collect the blocks necessary to make the factory, which I have shoved away in this chest ahead of time. Alright, so we just need to turn the printer on, and there we go. We're starting to build it. This is one of the coolest mods I've ever seen. And definitely is a must for people who want to do lots of big building projects, especially if they involve repetitive house building. Because you'll save so much time on this. Alright. Speed through the rest of this. For some reason the conveyor belts look like iron plates. But you can imagine how long it would take me to rebuild this factory by hand. I mean, at this speed, I think it'll take me no more than 5 minutes tops to get everything put into place. Of course, in survival mode, that would also include having to collect all of the items necessary to do this. But either way, you'd have to get those items, so still faster. I think rebuilding this entire factory in survival mode would take me, oh, I don't know, 20 minutes at least, if I had all the materials on hand. Now there is one thing that we're kind of seeing here. Notice that I do have the chest and collector in my inventory, but yet for some reason I'm not able to place the chest or the collector in these spots. This is because the schematic mod works like if you were building the factory yourself. You need to have a block to place the items onto. You can't place the block mid-air. Well, with the exception of the angel block, but that's a very big exception. So because I don't have the blocks underneath here for these items to be in contact with, I can't have them get placed. Alright, so that's it for the major building blocks. Let's get rid of these things. Now I'm going to need my spruce and the conveyor belts. Let's get these chimneys in place. I also don't need these. So door and this. Windows are going in place. Doors in place. And then everything else starts to get put down. But you can see there are a few issues with placing certain blocks. The conveyor belts, for instance, are going to place whichever direction you're facing. So if you're facing this direction, the conveyor belts will face this way. But if you're facing the opposite direction, they're going to be going the opposite direction. But that's nothing too major. You can fix that issue with a sledgehammer whenever you need to. And I think we have finished this. Alright, so we successfully rebuilt the factory. All we need to do is mess around with the conveyor belts. But otherwise, everything works perfectly fine. We also need to reprogram everything, because this doesn't have the input in the right spot, this doesn't have the filtration system set up. Still, built this way faster than I would if I built it by hand again. Now, there is one more issue that I have heard of with this mod, and that is blocks with different sub-IDs. So, for instance, this cobblestone, they all share the same main ID, 867, but they all have different sub-IDs, you know, the ID number behind the colon. So, if I were to make a structure like this, which has different types of cobblestone in it from the chisel mod, and I were to do this, save stone example, and then I got rid of all but this one type of cobblestone. If this still is doing the same thing, there you go. See? It's putting down the right main ID, but it has filled these blocks in with the wrong ID. Now, I don't think that it corrects it at all if you have the correct type of cobblestone. Yeah, it keeps putting down the wrong one. So, if you're building big structures, and they're going to have different types of the same ID number, you're going to run into a couple small issues. But I believe I heard that the person who came up with this mod is working on that issue so that in the future you won't have to worry about if it's got a sub-ID on it or not. It should put down the correct block no matter what. But as of time of this recording, it does the wrong type of block, though it means well. The mod means well. And it still is a pretty kick-ass mod. I love it. It's wonderful. You definitely should try to include it into your daily life if you're trying to do big, massive building projects that involve repetitive builds. Or if you just want to download a schematic from MC Edit and manually build that structure in your world, you can try putting this in there and only have to worry about collecting the resources to get it built. So, that's it for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and fave, and I will see you in another video, whenever that may be. Take care, guys, and goodbye.